there's no coming back for Diddy at this point in my mind. Like, there's too much going on. And this, I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg because these are the ones that have become public. Think about probably the dozens of other things that have gotten successfully covered up over the years.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw Podcast. My name is Adam Glyn. Over there is Dax Holt. We are the Hollywood Raw Podcast, one of the top entertainment news podcasts in the industry. We also have a producer named Cam in Nebraska. Shout out to Cam, which is like, we are covering every single kind of area, time zone of this country.
We got East Coast, we got West Coast, we got Central United States. We are covered.
We are covered. In the middle of the week, we usually talk to each other. We'll talk to a guest. Last week we had a random episode. Today we're taking a deep dive in the P. Diddy saga. I mean, it's just a wild rise and fall of P. Diddy. And, sometimes, Dax, we always say we love a comeback story. Mm-hmm. With this situation, I don't know if there's a comeback story. It's just...
Let's be clear. I don't always love a comeback story. If the person's a dirtbag, then I don't need a comeback from being a dirtbag. I like hey, someone got into drugs heavily and their whole life spun out of control and now they've got back on and they're doing well. That's the kind of comeback story I like. Or they were injured and, then they had to go through all this physical therapy and they were able to come back like a phoenix out of the ashes. But if you're a dickbag, then I don't need you to come back.
Yeah, this one's very unique and interesting, and we'll get into it and break it down. So if you're not too familiar with the story, you know everything that's going on with the P. Diddy story.
Ongoing scandal. It never ends. It's wild.
It is ongoing. Before we get to Diddy, we read reviews. We read them all the time. We read them before we go to sleep. We read them when we wake up because we have low self-esteem. So we need that to help us out. And honestly, it's the best thing to do to support this podcast. If you want to leave a review, just go to the podcast Apple icon right on your phone or your computer. Put in Hollywood Raw. Go all the way to the bottom, say a few kind words, 5 stars. We'll actually read your review live on air. We actually do some contests every now and then regarding the reviews. It's we really appreciate it. Dax, do you have a review ready for us?
I do. All right, this one comes from Tucson28. It's a 5-star review, and the title says, "Getting me through the workday. Dax and Adam, you are what gets me through my day at my crappy job. Love your banter and your unique perspectives on the entertainment industry. Your show is truly a fun, easy listen. P.S. Shout out to Heather McDonald's Juicy Scoop podcast for introducing me to you." And that is from Taylor. Thank you, Taylor. I'm glad we're there to help you through your day because I know what it feels like to have a podcast that you put on and you just enjoy it. And it's something kind of in the background or something that you just like hearing the familiar voices. So I'm glad that we are that to you. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And Dax and I started this podcast as sort of like a passion thing because we would have these conversations that we're like, man, this is really fun, entertaining. And then we started this podcast and we had a few listeners at first and then start to gain momentum. And we just have these incredible conversations privately. We made it publicly and you guys have supported us and we appreciate it. We keep doing it for you. And we like to inform you of everything that's going on in the entertainment news world. And we like to get it straight from the source in a way, because obviously Dax and I are 2 seasoned journalists. We've been doing this for a long, long, long time. So, for example, last week we called out Ben Affleck and J-Lo. We said there's rumors of them going back and forth. In order for them to fix this, because they're both seen separate, is they need to be photographed together. They need to kibosh these rumors. Less than 15 hours later, what happened, Dax? They were photographed together. We knew what they were doing.
It was it's been weeks, 8 weeks of them not being photographed in the same place at the same time. We say it, and then instantly they are out showing up to a school for one of Ben's son's performances, and she's there, he's there. I mean, they wanted to be photographed together is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, 100%. So usually, I just say
And his
usually,
and
but
his ring was back on. Remember, we talked about him not having a ring in one of the photos recently this weekend. Oh, and now there's a photo of him wearing his wedding ring again. I mean, it seems very calculated.
yeah, and she wasn't seen going to Dunkin' Donuts with him. She wasn't seen going to McDonald's with him, which makes people start to question what's going on there. But they obviously tried to kibosh those rumors by being spotted together. We called it. What happened? It's the simple Hollywood playbook that we knew was going to happen 2 steps ahead. But today's episode, we take a deep dive into what is going on in the P. Diddy saga. Dax, before we kind of get into the timeline of what happened with Diddy, have you personally met Diddy at all or been around them at all?
God, that's a good question. What have I seen Diddy? Nothing memorable is sticking out in my brain. I've been to numerous award shows, backstage. Like, I'm sure there's been a moment where I have been in the presence of Diddy, but they all blur together after 20 years of this. So nothing standing out in my mind. You?
Yes, I have. You know what's weird? Doing what I'm doing based in New York City, I would never get tips on Diddy. Now, he probably doesn't have a home in New York City. So, does he go in for meetings? Yes. But it was weird. I never got tips on P. Diddy. I did hear stories about him for a long time. Just like Harvey Weinstein, there was always stories and rumors going on about him, but I never really got those tips. I never really seen him. It's crazy. I've been doing this for so long, Dax, and I never really shot footage of P. Diddy on the street. It was very almost like you forgot about him because he was just never seen. It's very weird. However, back in 2003, 2002, actually, Dax, I don't know if I told you, my freshman year of college, I went to, this is so random story how I first met Diddy, and not like I had a personal relationship, but what I would do is TRL was a huge show. And I remember somehow I met up with someone at MTV and they invited me to go to a taping of MTV's TRL. And I went and I just started like being like a fun person in the crowd and like, hey man, you got great energy. You should come to this show called MTV Hits. And it was a show where the host, where there was like Hillary Burton or Nick Cannon would guest host. It would be like 8 people sit around and they'd introduce music videos. And I'd be in the room with like the 8 people introducing music videos. Occasionally they'd have a celebrity on. I was there with like Dave Chappelle. I was there with Nick Cannon, Shaggy, like random celebrities that go on. And they loved my energy. And I used to be like this wild, fun dancer. So they'd want me to come to TRL to help me entertain the crowds in between commercial breaks. So every Friday I would get to go to TRL whenever I wanted. Wouldn't have to wait in line. It was just like, we want this guy in the crowd. He's fun. He's energetic and anything. Like he was just a good guy to have there. And I would bring my friends with me. It was pretty surreal. And then one day they said to me, Adam, we want to send you to San Francisco for the World Series and to cover the World Series for TRL. I was like, let's go. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up this contest. P. Diddy's hosting today. He's going to pick you in the crowd and send you to San Fran. I'm like, let's go. Like, and I could bring a friend with me and they're going to give me a film crew and they're going to send me to California to shoot like behind the scenes content for TRL. So it was the weirdest thing. They introduced me to Diddy before the taping. Like, hey, Diddy, this is Adam. I don't even know if he's going by Diddy then. It might have been Puff Daddy. They said, hey, Adam, this is Adam. You're going to point in the crowd and you're going to say, listen, I want to send you to California to cover the World Series for MTV's TRL. And I'm like, well, this is crazy. He was like, okay, cool. Like, he didn't even care. He was like, okay, cool. Like, he didn't shake my hand. He was just like, he was like a robot. Like, he wasn't present.
Yeah.
And then this is when he was doing the vote or die stuff. And he was like running, like it was, I think P. Diddy was running the New York Marathon. And during the taping at TRL, Diddy, like, basically it was so quick and fast that he didn't like really follow the cue cards. He's like, hey man, you're Adam. You know what, Adam? I'm going to send you to the World Series. And it was so like, wait, what? Like, he's just going to send me to the World Series. I remember the MTV producers were pissed off at me because I didn't sell it better. But I was like, hey, man, like, he didn't sell it. Like, he just said out of nowhere, you know what, I'm going to send you to the World Series. And it was some partnership between MTV and TRL. And I remember them being so pissed at me, but they're pissed at me because they couldn't be pissed at Diddy. But I remember he hugged me. And then afterwards, like, he just never talked to me again. We're in the same room. He just ignored me completely because I didn't matter.
So did you end up going and covering it?
I did, dude. It was so sick. I have it on VHS of me, and I got to bring my brother with me. And I met like Robin Williams. I was on the field during the game. I was in the dugout with Barry Bonds. I mean, it was an insane experience. Like trying free food, getting a tour of the stadium, again on the field in the World Series
That's
it
so
was
cool.
yeah, it was pretty cool. They gave me jerseys, they gave me swag. It was pretty insane. But again, random story about my one encounter with P. Diddy. But Dax, let's start to the rise of P.
Yeah.
Diddy. What was he like as a person? How did he tell me some stuff
Well,
about
he
Diddy.
didn't exactly have the easiest upbringing. He's from New York. He's from Harlem. But I remember stories about his upbringing and how his dad was a drug dealer. I remember that being a very famous plot line of stuff that he's talked about in the past. He was a drug dealer, was shot dead after like a party. And this was when when Diddy was like 2 years old. He was a toddler. And so, his mother was really the one raising P. Diddy for his life. And I remember she ended up scraping up enough money, sending him to Mount Vernon. And then he attended this like Catholic school when he was younger. He always called himself an altar boy. And that was kind of really his upbringing, but he quickly became like an entrepreneur. And he's talked about this in the past too, that he did like a local paper route. And at that time, I mean, he was young, like 10, 11 at that time, was making $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week. Think about how much money that was back then from doing paper rounds. And this was like just kind of like the start of Diddy and seeing this like mogul mindset that he had. He also worked at a diner. He worked at a gas station. He cleaned toilets, did kind of just everything to make ends meet when he was younger, because he had this like, this drive, this passion inside of him. And so, once he got into the early 90s, he got into the music industry. He was interning at Uptown Records, where he later got fired back in like a couple of years later, like 1993. But then he created Bad Boy Entertainment. And this is really kind of the start of Diddy, the rise of Diddy, because Bad Boy became such a huge phenomenon in the music industry. And this was with our Artista Records. And they got on, Notorious B.I.G., who turned into one of the biggest players in the rap game, and they continued to grow. And so did Diddy. Essentially, as the music industry and Bad Boy Records became so big, he became huge.
So he became big. So just stop right there. So he was one who sort of discovered Notorious B.I.G., would monetize him because his label had Biggie, correct, Dax?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously Biggie's a huge star, and Biggie was big before Diddy, and then I guess Biggie made sort of Diddy because he became like the guy behind him.
Like because Notorious B.I.G. became so huge, and he was like also pumping Diddy, that it was like this wave of energy. And you forget kind of how big Diddy actually became, because I feel like we're so many years out of like the height of the Diddy fame, if that makes sense, that you forget, in the 90s, he was one of the biggest rappers on the planet. Like everyone was talking about him. He was dating, Naomi Campbell and Jennifer Lopez and just like all these people because he was the biggest star. One thing you do forget about is, you remember 20 years ago, he was acquitted on charges from like a nightclub shootout. Do you remember when that happened?
Was this the night with J-Lo?
I do believe this was the night with J-Lo where he was arrested for like being involved in that shooting incident.
Okay.
But then he had 2 loaded guns that they found in his limo. And the thing, though, that I remember is this didn't hurt his reputation. It actually like helped his reputation back then, because people were like, oh shit, he's a badass. Like he was involved in a shooting incident at a club. He's dating like one of the best looking women in the world. Like everything, it was like he could do no wrong. But I think it was also a glimpse into kind of who Diddy was. Like he's kind of one of those people that rules do not apply to him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so when he was arrested for that incident at the club, he was dating J-Lo. He was actually at the club in New York, and this is roughly time-wise, so you guys know it's 1999. He was also with a rapper called Shine. Remember Shine? He was like he had a one-hit song. He now is like a politician. but he was found not guilty on all charges. Shine was convicted on 5 of his 8 charges and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Some people say that Diddy had Shine, he kind of put everything on Shine to kind of take the heat for everything.
And this wouldn't be the first time, or I mean the last time, because that seems to be the MO. Like, I think when it comes to Diddy, he's been very strategic on, I may do bad shit, but I'm going to make sure I have people around me to take the fall. And
Yeah.
I think that's really what happened all those years ago too, you know? Whatever. So then he obviously has been huge in music. We kind of skip forward. We don't need to go through his whole catalog of ups and downs in music. Everyone kind of knows that. But if you look back, he's been very successful. He's sold over 500 million records. He's produced 38 platinum singles, earned multiple Grammy Awards. He's had, obviously quite a few relationships. He's got 7 children from 4 different mothers. He got into the clothing industry with Sean John, which back in 1998, he partnered with Macy's, and it did really well for a while. And then it did really bad for a while. He ended up buying it back, the brand, for like $7.5 million after it filed for bankruptcy. But it did make up. It made like $450 million in sales at one point. So it
was a great streetwear brand.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was a streetwear brand that, again, we're dating ourselves a little bit, but for people who don't know, for a streetwear brand to get into Macy's, because he partnered with Macy's, is enormous. And he was one of the breakthrough people to initially do that. Again, like Dak said, there was some down parts of it, but for the most part, it was a very successful brand. I mean, he's had other successful brands with bottled water, clothing, alcohol. So, yeah.
We have to talk Ciroc, because Ciroc, I think, is probably maybe one of his most successful brands that he has ever created. He started that back in like 2007. He partnered with a big spirits company, which then later came after him. And so, I mean, he's had his ups and downs with almost every venture in his life. But I would say when things started to get really rocky was June of last year. This is when one of the big spirit companies, I want to say it's Diageo is how you call, this is the parent company for Ciroc. They actually were in the process of cutting ties with him, accusing him of using threats and acting in bad faith to get his own way. And so that's kind of where you start to see the legal battles are coming up. And then next thing you know, he is now fighting numerous legal battles with different allegations from women throughout his history. One of them being, an unnamed woman who claimed that he and 2 friends sexually assaulted her when she was 17. He ended up filing a motion to have the woman's case thrown out. And we're still waiting on that ruling. But then there's an accuser. There was a 4th woman who accused him of sexual assault last year after the whole Cassie incident, after she sued him. And obviously we are going to get deep into this Cassie one, because everything that's happened over the last 4 days with video coming out, him responding, we're going to get into that. But if you remember, when her initial lawsuit came forward, she had claimed rape, she had claimed abuse, she had claimed numerous things. She sued him, and a day later, it all got, quote unquote, sorted out, which means they settled outside of court. We don't know what kind of lump sum, but I've heard rumors of like $20 million just to get that whole thing to go away. But he has said, look, all of these women, and this is him, all of these women are basically lying, that all of these accusations are BS, and that they're all looking for a quick payday.
So break this down, Dak. So before this, before the lawsuit with Cassie comes in, his team's got to know that this team, Cassie's team's threatening a lawsuit, or were they surprised by Cassie's lawsuit? How does that
No,
work?
I'm sure they knew about the lawsuit, and I'm sure Cassie and and her team went to him in a non-public fashion. He probably said, screw you, I don't care, that you're not going to get that money out of me. They said, okay, we're going public with it. And instantly he goes, okay, I'm going to open up my pocketbook. You know what I'm saying? Because there's clearly now that we know, like if you look back into her lawsuit, she essentially describes this incident at the hotel that we saw this weekend unfold, where she is getting completely beat up in the hallway by him, and he had to have known that this videotape existed. And there was, I did read a report that he knew, and he paid like $50,000 to basically buy this video from the hotel so that it would never see the light of day, which clearly it saw the light of day,
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Dax, before we continue.
Mhm.
You've been on the other side of this stuff. You've seen videos that are for sale and that someone from a bodyguard, security camera, publicist, someone's trying to sell footage. How does video like this come about? Now, CNN was the one who broke the story. My question to you is, A, how does CNN get this video? And from your experience, we don't know, price tag, how much would you think a video like this would be worth? Because in my opinion, P. Diddy paying $50,000 to get this video taken away, and that's a steal for Diddy. But the thing is, there's no guarantee to say like, hey, I got to make sure this video goes away completely. So first off, my question is for you, Dax, is what would you say that video was worth?
Well,
if you were the one trying to buy it and you work for a media outlet, someone says, hey, I got this video for Diddy, what would be the highest you'd go for that video?
Shoot. I mean, I'm pretty sure they felt good about getting $50,000, because I don't know if you could guarantee getting $50,000 from any media outlet at this point in time. People just don't pay that much for stuff anymore. So I think them walking away with $50,000 is probably a pretty damn good bet. The fact, though, that there was a floating copy around, I don't think they expected that. Diddy expected this to be gone and buried forever if it is true that he paid that much for it. But I think if they really went out on the bidding market, maybe they could have got 75, maybe they could have got 100, but like that means you're showing it to numerous outlets, you're bidding them up against each other. The second these outlets are seeing it, there's a chance that someone actually just posts a story about the video and completely, devalues the whole thing. Because it's one thing to see the video, it's another to like hear about the video. And so when I saw this video pop up this weekend, my first reaction is there is no coming back from this now for him, because you can hear about an incident and you can be like, oh, I don't know if that's true or not. Once you see it with your own eyes, your judgment goes to another place. And you instantly are like, you are a woman beater. You your reputation is trashed at that point.
You can't defend it.
It reminds me of Chris Brown and Rihanna. You had heard the stories, but the second you actually saw her face beaten up, it instantly like clicks, and you associate Chris Brown with being a woman beater, right? Like there's no going back from that. And I think the same thing with Diddy at this point. There's no coming back from this moment. The visual evidence of you beating the shit out of Cassie in the hotel, hallway, like no chance. And then this is on top of all the other allegations that have come forward from numerous women claiming rape, claiming abuse, manipulation, and some being underage. Do you remember there was a 17-year-old who in one of the lawsuits is claiming that he basically supplied her with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol so that his two friends could rape her, leaving her in so much pain she could barely stand or remember how she could get home? Like, I'm sorry, there's no coming back for Diddy at this point in my mind. Like, there's too much going on. And this, I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg, because these are the ones that have become public. Think about probably the dozens of other things that have gotten successfully covered up over the years.
Yeah. So obviously in the last 2 months or so, there was a raid on his house, which there was an investigation. There was no arrests, but there was an investigation. The federal agents raided Combs' home in Los Angeles and Miami. Homeland Security investigations in New York said the actions were part of an ongoing investigation, but did not elaborate. One of his associates were arrested on drug charges, but no criminal charges, and have been filed. So it's been a rough kind of 2 months.
Yeah, and he said that was a gross overuse of military level force. I'm sorry. I feel like there's something more here that we haven't found out, because we don't really know the true extent of why they raided his homes. But I gotta think that there's more that is going on in his life that we just don't know about yet. The fact that he stepped down as chairman of Revolt amidst all of these allegations of sex abuse and sex trafficking. Again, we say it all the time. If there's smoke, there's fire. And it seems like the smoke keeps building up when it comes to Diddy.
Yeah. But the crazy part is the day before this video came out, he put a video on his own on his Instagram speaking.
No, he did the apology video after.
No, I'm sorry. The apology video came after, but the day before he put like an Instagram post. And I wonder actually, I'm going to check right now to see if he took away the Instagram post. Because he did pretty much an Instagram post saying that the truth would come out. He's innocent. And he's sort of defending himself.
Talked about this on Friday. We said truth never. What did they say? Truth never lies, or whatever the hell the statement was.
Time tells truth. And he didn't actually delete the post, which is pretty significant. And what's crazy? Even with his apology video, Diddy has 19.9 million followers on Instagram. Bad PR move. He puts this. So again, he writes "Time tells truth." The next day, the video of Cassie getting physically abused by Diddy comes out. And then Diddy puts out a video of himself apologizing. No, he wasn't apologizing. He was just, how would you describe it?
Yeah, no, he was taking responsibility. But I want to get into the hotel video because
but first, before we get to that video, he left the comments on. 237,000 comments on that video of him talking about, and if you read the comments, they're vicious. I mean, crazy move to leave the comments on under that video, but go on.
Yeah. So for people that did not get to see the hotel surveillance video that CNN put out this weekend, it's pretty rough to watch. I'm gonna say that first. So if you are triggered by any kind of abuse or if that takes you to a dark place, don't watch the video. But CNN released it on Friday, and it was reportedly from March 5th, 2016. It is a couple different camera angles of this incident that went down in a hotel. Basically, I think that CNN had said that it was the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles where it was filmed. But when you watch it, Cassie is in this like black sweater with a hood up, a duffel bag in hand, and she like basically is going to the elevator to try to get out of there. Suddenly you see from a different camera angle, Diddy in a bath towel, and that's it. Literally sprinting down the hallway. He caught up with her at the elevator and just comes swinging, striking at her, yanking at her by the hair, throwing her to the ground. And then he starts kicking her as she lies on the ground, picking up her bag, dragging her back toward the hotel room, and then lets her go, appearing to say something to her. And he walks back to the hotel room with her bag. Her lawyer, Cassie's lawyer, did put out a statement on Friday saying this gut-wrenching video has only further confirmed the disturbing and predatory behavior of Mr. Combs. Words cannot express the courage and fortitude that Ms. Ventura has shown in coming forward and bringing this to light. So then there's a different angle from the video where Diddy is sitting in a chair, and it looks like he throws a vase from a table down the hallway.
You call it vase or vase?
A vase, whatever. And then, what's interesting is when you look back at Cassie's lawsuit, she recalls an incident with Diddy, and in there it says, quote unquote, he became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye. After he fell asleep, she tried to leave the hotel room, but as she exited, Combs woke up and began screaming at her. He followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. He grabbed her and then took a glass vase in the hallway and threw it at her, causing glass to crush around them as she ran to an elevator to escape. I mean, if you ask me, it seems like she described this exact incident in the lawsuit, and now we're getting to see that that was 100% exactly what happened. I guess at that point, the lawsuit says that in his vicious cycle of abuse, she returned with the intention of apologizing for running away, and that security staff actually urged her to get back into the cab and go to her apartment, suggesting that they had seen the security footage, which is really interesting. That, listen, this when people are abused, and it is really mentally fucks you up. So you may look at it and go, why the hell would you return back to the hotel after he just did this to you? But that is unfortunately what happens with abuse, is people return back to it or feel that it's their fault, because that is the mental side effect of this. But the security guards were like, no, you need to get the fuck out of here. We just watched this video of him abusing the hell out of you. Go. And then the lawsuit alleged that he was paid $50,000 for the hotel footage. So pretty crazy. And if you remember, they dated from like 2007 to 2018. In her lawsuit, she basically said that it began as a professional and sexual relationship with him when she was 19, and then she alleges that she was raped, trafficked, and viciously beaten by Combs over the course of a decade. And then, if you remember, like we mentioned earlier, that lawsuit was settled one day after she filed it. So we do not know how much she got paid for that. But yeah. I do find it very interesting this video came out, and I'm really happy that it came out, because I think it really sheds a lot of light onto who Diddy is. Yeah, so Cassie's lawyers sort of responded to this situation not with a kind of there's no news from it, but just sort of a message saying this is kind of the behavior we were kind of discussing. But the video itself, Dex, can Diddy go to jail for this video? I mean, this is evidence in itself. Like, this is abuse. I mean, I guess this wasn't an incident from 2016, but can he get arrested for this video? No. How does he not get arrested for this? Well, it's about time. Unfortunately, it's about time. He will not be prosecuted for this video. It's from 2016. Even though it shows him kicking, hitting, dragging his girlfriend, the LA County District Attorney Office said in a statement on Friday night that it's disturbing, it's difficult to watch, but he can't be charged with assault or prosecuted if it occurred back in 2016. They said, quote unquote, if the conduct depicted occurred in 2016, unfortunately, we would be unable to charge, as the conduct would have occurred beyond the timeline where a crime of assault could be prosecuted. So I think they feel bad about everything, but they're essentially handcuffed themselves. They can't prosecute when it is outside of the statute of limitations for something like this, unfortunately. Wild. So I think, though, even though he doesn't go to jail for this, I think the fallout from this is going to probably hurt him worse than going to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sure. When there's a mega star like this, their ego, their reputation is everything to them. And once you take that away, and they don't have the people fawning all over them, they don't have their fans, they don't have brands wanting to partner up with them, they don't have appearances, no one wants them to show up to the Grammys, or that hurts. And I think that hurts a lot for someone like Diddy when everything falls apart. You're no longer in charge of Revolt. Ciroc wants nothing to do with you. Your record labels, no one's buying your music, no one's streaming your music. That to me is the outcome that I think will be the, his retribution or whatever. That's the result. And I think that's what it's going to hurt him a lot. So he did put, like we said, he did put an apology video. In the apology video, he doesn't apologize to Cassie. Do you want me to play it? I actually have it. Sure. Do you want me to play it? I couldn't play the obviously the video of them running down the hallway or any of that because it's CNN's footage. But I can play the video of what he said over the weekend because he posted this, I would say, quote unquote, apology video. So let me play that now.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
So
Video quality wise, it looks like P. Diddy's like on our show this week. So shout out to Streetwear
right?
for making that look really cool. Second off, if you're Diddy's publicist, Dax, what do you think about all this? How would you handle the situation? Do you think he's even having professional media relations person kind of deal with him through this? Because I say this,
he's got to have a crisis management.
He needs
this had to start up when all the lawsuits were coming forward, the raids. He has to have a crisis management team in place right now. My thought is, as I'm listening to it, and he says, "I'm sorry." Who's he saying sorry to? Is he saying sorry to the fans? Is he saying sorry to Cassie? Like, who is he apologizing to? Because it sounds like it's more to the fans than it is to Cassie, which at the end of the day, fuck all of us. She's the one that deserves the apology. She's the one that you tortured, that you beat, that you mind fucked in a relationship for years and years and years. He should have named her. And I think it's bullshit that he didn't name her. You know, oh, I excuse my actions. No, fuck you. Apologize to her at the end of the day. None of us need an apology.
Yeah, I don't know if legally he's allowed to mention her by name. I don't know the legality because they settled their issues privately or, not
but
in the court. But you're right. Dax, I agree with you. When
he's literally talking about a video that we all saw, and he's saying my actions. I don't think that by saying I'm sorry to her negates any of that. Like, just man up to it. Say you're a shitty person. I mean, listen, even if you apologize, at the end of the day, I still feel like in the court of public opinion, you're screwed. No one's backing you at this point.
Totally agree. And it's weird that I wouldn't say it's weird that he's not hiding. Mm-hmm. However, he's walking down the street just smoking weed. Like, he's been photographed since the apology video, walking down the street, smoking a blunt. I don't think it's a cigar. I think it's a blunt based on the smoke. And I kind of can tell the difference a little bit. I have to think it's weed. I mean, to me, that's just like, I thought you went and got help. That's not it. You can't, even though it is medical and it's legal.
Do you believe that he actually went and got help? Do you think that he tried to better himself? Or he's saying that because that's what you're supposed to say?
That's what you're supposed to be. I mean, honestly, I think that's what you're supposed to say. With his actions, with what he's posted on Instagram, and he's made it to believe and doing the public image defense of saying the truth will come out. Yeah, the truth came out. It wasn't in your favor. So I don't think he thought this video would ever come to light. Unfortunately for him, it did and showed the truth would happen. So people who've been, celebrities who have gone to Diddy's parties, who have been on the defense of Diddy, have now spoken about the situation. Like, whoa. This is the nail in the coffin for Diddy. Like, you want us to defend you. You want us to think, oh, this guy's a good guy, but just terrible PR, terrible moves on actions on Diddy before and after and present. It's just, all in all, it's really messy. And like you said, Dax, I don't think there's a way to come back, even though he wasn't arrested for this situation, for this incident. He wasn't arrested. The public
This one will do
perception of
more
him.
damage. This one will do more damage to him than anything else.
And then we're still yet to see what happened. You know, we're still trying to find out what's going on with the search, with the search of his homes.
Yeah. And you,
like we
you
said,
ran into who? Fat Jewish the other day? Didn't you guys talk about Diddy?
So I ran into Fat Jewish the other day in New York City, and he has this wild Diddy story. This has nothing to do with Cassie. It's just a wild Diddy story. Let's play the video.
Yeah.
You spoke about P. Diddy recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, again, I say it's not off, you know.
Yeah.
We all kind of knew like there were some weird things there. You saw some crazy stuff being at one of those parties.
Nobody ever believed me. I've been telling the story for years, and everyone was like, Fat Jew's being crazy. Like, he's telling a crazy story. And now I'm on some, I fucking told you.
Yeah.
That all kinds of wild ass shit was going down. Everybody thought I was like being crazy, but like.
What was the weirdest thing that you saw, like you physically saw? It's not like hearsay, that you actually saw with your own eyes, where like, this is a little bit weird to see at a party, a little bit off.
The story goes that I took ecstasy at a party I shouldn't have been at with like all beautiful black people. I was with the DJ. And I had a huge fucking afro and a kimono on with no shirts. I stood out like a fucking sore thumb. I'm wandering around looking for a bathroom on some like on so much Molly.
Yeah.
And I wander into some room. It's like mad smoky and like there's just people kind of laying around. It's kind of like a harem feel.
Yeah.
And he's just laying there, just full spooning with this dude Felix Namascat, who's like a fucking, a famous producer and DJ. And I was like, this is sick. And like everyone looked immediately at me and was like, and then some security guard rushed, was like, get the fuck out. And like
did they make you sign NDAs at this party or?
No. And me and Diddy like made full eye contact. Like he knew that I saw like what I had seen. Because like I had no business being in this room with like just like beautiful black dudes hooking up. I wish I was.
Dude. Crazy story.
Wild story. We gotta get him on the podcast. I'm sure he's got a bunch more like that. I mean, that story he didn't do anything illegal. It's just an insane experience from Diddy. And it seems like he said, he's been talking about this story for a long time, that in the back of his head, he's like, guys, I saw something that was just so weird. And now maybe his friends are starting to be like, yeah, you might have been telling the truth.
Right? So crazy. Oh, I love that he's like so honest. Listen, he said he's told that story before and no one believed him. The fact that he's talked out about it before Diddy even kind of started having his downfall is pretty crazy, because most people don't like to tell stories about crazy, powerful people. They're worried about what that fallout will be for them.
Yeah, for sure. But thank you guys for,
I do want to say something, because there's been a lot of talk about abuse in this. And I think it's always good to say, listen, if you are someone who is a victim of domestic violence, and if, talking about this triggers you, do know that the National Domestic Violence Hotline, there is one for you. You can go to thehotline.org. It allows you to speak confidentially with trained advocates online or by phone, which we highly recommend for anyone who out there needs help to get out of an abusive relationship. You can also call them 1-800-799-7233, and they can help get you to a plan of safety for children, families. Know that there are people out there that can help you. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I'm sure there's a lot more to come with Diddy. I think this is nowhere near the end of the Diddy storyline. I'm sure we're going to be covering a lot more of this over the next couple of weeks, but we did want to kind of give that full picture for the people, because I feel like right now I've got everyone. Tell me more. Wait, what's happening? I need to know more about Diddy. What's going on? Like, there's just so much to cover. So I'm glad we took a hot second to really break it down for people.
Yeah, and if you guys are watching YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you're listening, give a review. Come on, it really helps us out. Really helps us out in the algorithm. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram. We're on it all. We have a private Facebook group called Off the Record, which you guys should be in. Follow me at Adam Glyn. Follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. We'll see you guys Friday.
Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.